Ladies and gentlemen, we are live!
Welcome everyone to the Big X Sports JEDI Network MMA Weekly with Austin and Chef Dan. How you doing tonight, Chef Dan?
I am doing awesome. Salute to you, Austin. Salute to everyone joining us, whether that be on the podcast platforms or that be on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for joining us tonight. I'm doing great, man. I can't wait to get into it. We're about to do the first annual BX Sports JEDI MMA Award show. So, yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited too. This is a special edition of the show. This is our award show we try to do every year, to look back in the year and give out awards for who we think, for Fighter of the Year, Event of the Year, etc., which we'll get into, obviously. So this is a special video for you guys, and thank you guys for watching us on video platforms or the audio platforms. Listen to us there too on the podcast platforms. We appreciate the love, support, and yeah, I'm excited. So let's get into it. I mean, which category do you want to start first?
We could start out with Fight of the Year.
Fight of the Year. Okay, so Fight of the Year is the first category. And now, you want me to go first, or you want to go first in terms of what was your Fight of the Year?
Well, this one wasn't that tough for me for this year. Last year probably would have been tougher, but this year, Fight of the Year for me, I had was Kevin Holland versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. I think that was the best fight to me this year because it just had all the action that I wanted and never really, the only time it slowed down was when one guy was taken advantage of at the end. But for the most part, that was the best fight to me this year.
So Wonderboy and Holland, the main event December dirt card from a month ago in Orlando, that's your Fight of the Year. And for me, sorry. Well, okay, for me, my Fight of the Year actually, although I was at that event, I was there, I saw that fight live. Great fight, crazy fight, I loved it. But to me, my Fight of the Year is Yuri Prochazka and Glover Teixeira, and this wasn't even close. As much as I love that Wonderboy and Kevin Holland fight, Yuri and Glover were it was next level. All 5 rounds were entertaining, back and forth. There were times where it looked like Glover was going to take over, but then Yuri would come back, and then it looked like Yuri's going to take over, finish Glover would come back. Both guys at times yet any mistakes. At times where it'd be Yuri going for way too many jumping knees, or Glover Teixeira sometimes with going for takedowns when he shouldn't, especially that 5th round. But that was one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. Forget this year. That's an all-time great fight. That may be one of the top 10 greatest fights in UFC title fight history. Maybe top 10 fight all time, in my opinion. That's how good it was. And that left an impression on me. and Wonderboy and Holland to me was close in terms of getting near that, surpassing Yuri and Glover, but I just can't. I can't. Yuri Glover was to me hands down fight of the year. One of the greatest fights I've ever seen. I mean, that 5th round, my gosh, oh my god, that, whew, I mean, I get so excited just thinking about it, talking about it, because it was that damn good. And both fights, I recommend you watch. If you haven't seen those fights or you forgot, watch both fights. Watch the Colin and Wonderboy fight, because that was spectacular as well. And then watch the Yuri Glover fight, because those were just, my gosh, those were just epic fights. I mean, man, freaking crazy. I mean, I can go on and on about how awesome they were, but I don't want to spend too much time because I obviously got other awards to give out, etc. So yeah, my fight here is Yuri Prohaska and Glover Teixeira. I mean, crazy, and man.
All right. So with that, we can move on from that to the Male Fighter of the Year award. My Male Fighter of the Year award. This one, I struggled a bit because I wanted to go a bit outside of the UFC, but I think this guy, he was dominant all year round. He didn't have a lot of activity, but for the activity he had, he was very dominant. So I'll give my Male Fighter of the Year award to Islam Makhachev. Ended up being the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. I mean, I have disagreements with that one, but overall, he's just been dominant all year round, and I couldn't, like, at some point you just got to give it to the guy. I know he won the title, he earned it against a game Charles Oliveira, who we thought that fight was going to be more back and forth than it actually was, but he just showcased pure domination throughout that fight.
Yeah, he did, and excuse me, sorry about that, my voice, but yeah, he did show pure domination, be a game Oliveira on an 11-fight win streak, and how Oliveira being Islam, Oliveira been in this category for men fight of the year. He probably could have won it, but yeah. I mean, there's other guys who deserve some love. I mean, Islam you mentioned, Alexander Volkanovski going 2-0 and just destroying Max Holloway in the 3rd fight, which is something we did not expect. Volkanovski deserves some love. You also have, well, no, I'm not going to put Leon. I was going to say Leon, but he only fought once. Although his fight was important, but still, I mean, you can maybe go with AJ McKee and Bellator, considering he did go 2-1. Really, in my opinion, 3-0 if you count the Risings, because the Pitbull fight was a bad fight in terms of judging. But you also got guys like that, and also I'm forgetting. There's a one fighter from one. I'm forgetting Christian Lee from one. I want to give him some love. But for me, my men's fighter of the year was Alex Pereira. This is a guy who went 3-0 in the UFC, went from unranked to being the UFC champion by the end of the year. I know if Izzy wasn't champion, it wouldn't happen, but still, he capitalized on his opportunities, beat Bruno Silva in a tough fight, then knocked out Sean Strickland, who was number 4 guy, and then finished Israel Adesanya, his rival, after being down 3-1 going that 5th round. And listening to his coaches told him basically, you need to knock Israel out, and he ended up knocking him out. That left hook is his money. Is money for him. That's like his signature weapon, his signature punch is that left hook. Go watch his kickboxing highlights. Watch some of his MMA fights. When he lands that left hook, I mean, guys go get put to sleep, and he's able to finish Israel Adesanya after losing that fight, being down 3-1, and go from unranked to be UFC champion, go 3-0 and the UFC. Is just, I mean, it's impressive. This guy's rise to the championship is remarkable. It's like Brock Lesnar back in the day. How Brock Lesnar was the UFC champion very quickly. This guy in his 4th UFC fight is the UFC champ. I mean, for me, I have to give to Pereira the man fight of the year, just what he did, going 3-0 and having those back-to-back knockout victories over Sean Strickland and Israel Adesanya.
All right. So there you guys have it. My male fighter of the year is Islam Makhachev, and Austin's male fighter of the year is Alex Pereira. You guys can definitely check out both of those guys' fight discography, as those who put on excellent fights so far this year and more than this year as well. On to the female fighter of the year. Man, I had a tough one going back and forth with this one, but I had to give it to her. female fight of the year to me is Valentina Shevchenko. It's just the same thing I had to say with Islam Makhachev. Dominant. Just dominant. I know she had a bit of a rough go in there with Talia Santos, but the fact that she knew what to do to end up winning that fight was just amazing. And she's just, man, you could essentially give it to her for the past 2-3 years now.
Yeah, you can. I mean, she's definitely has her title run's been very impressive considering how dominant she's been. And Valentina Shevchenko definitely had a pretty good it was a more competitive fight than we expected against Talia Santos, but we both agree she clearly won the fight, despite what some people think. If you go back and watch that fight, it was kind of obvious Valentina won. But for me, my women's fighter of the year is Zhang Weili. 2-0 with two finishes. In June, she comes back and knocks out Joanna Jędrzejczyk by spinning back fist back in June in Singapore. And then in November, she goes in and beats Carla Esparza and just dominates her and submits her in the second round. No, it was either early second round or late first round. I forget. But she submits her with like an impressive rear naked choke too. And she beat the first two UFC strawweight champions. When you think about it, Carla was the first, Joanna was the second. She beat both of them and finished them. And in the first fight with Joanna, she couldn't finish Joanna. It turned out being one of the greatest fights in MMA history. But the rematch, she puts Joanna away. And because of what she did, after having a bad 2021, she lost to Rose Namajunas twice in 2021, she comes back and has two back-to-back impressive victories and gets her strawweight championship back. For me, I had to give it to Zhang Weili because of that.
Yeah, that was the other person that I struggled giving it to as well. That one was a tough decision for me. We can move on though from that category to the next category, the event of the year. To me, hands down, UFC London.
UFC London won.
UFC London won. You can't go wrong with that one. UFC London won. That's the card for me. Everything was fire on there. Everything was fire on there.
I totally agree. I'm in agreement with you. We're in agreement with this one. UFC London 1 was that was special. First of all, that was the first show in England for the UFC in about 3 years actually. In 3 years since 2019 was the last time they went to London or England for a show. So it was the first time the crowd, the British crowds in MMA and boxing are very active, very very vocal. I mean, British crowds in sporting events, where it be soccer, like Premier League or international soccer in general, or international football, as they say over there, or wrestling, boxing, or MMA, they are freaking passionate, super passionate, and they were here for this show, and it just only added to the greatness of the show. I mean, the performances from Muhammad Mokaev starting off in the beginning with that first round submission to Nikita Krylov and Paul Craig. Remember, Paul Craig got knocked out by Krylov, and then he came back and was able to get a arm triangle, despite being what really should have been finished by Krylov in that crazy fight in the prelims. Then Sergey Pavlovich did his thing as he continued to rise through the rankings. And then, of course, Jai Herbert and Ilya Topuria. Remember, Herbert dropped Topuria and was actually beating him up before he knocked out Herbert badly. And I thought that was going to be knockout night before Molly McCann did her infamous spinning elbow attack. I mean, that's legendary. That's an all-time knockout. That's not just great knockout for the year. No, that's an all-timer knockout. We're going to be talking about 5 years from now, for damn sure. And then, of course, Paddy Pimblett's performance against Vargas. He faced some adversity, came back and won with a naked choke, and that crowd when he came out was super electric for him. Then Arnold Allen finishing Dan Hooker quickly, and then the main event. I mean, Tom Aspinall, he impressed me big time. The way he dismantled Volkov was just like, wow. I mean, no one does that to Volkov. The way he did to Volkov, I've never seen Volkov get destroyed like that, and he just schooled Volkov on the feet and the takedowns, going for that arm lock. I mean, wow. I mean, that's when I was like, Tom Aspinall's for real. And I truly believe if Aspinall is healthy, he will be champion. That's a hot take of mine. If he gets healthy and is 100% like himself before the injury, he will be champion. I don't care if Nagano or Jones is a champion, he'll beat them. That's a hot take of mine. I'll stand by that. But that was just, I mean, that London show was just epic. It was special. I mean, that's an all-time great UFC event, and that deserves event of the year. Not to say they weren't great events, they were. I mean, UFC 21, Madison Square Garden was a pretty damn good event with Israel and Alex Pereira, Jang Lee's performance, Chandler Poirier, the Chris Gutierrez and Frankie Edgar, and then also you had Brad Riddell and Hinata Mukanyo had a good performance in the prelims. And, Dan Hooker had a decent performance. Claudio Puelles fought terribly. I mean, what was that, Claudio? But there's some other good performances in that prelims. Also, you had the UFC, not UFC, One Championship on the first Amazon show with a pretty damn good card, especially the main event with DJ and Adrian Moraes. And then also the Bellator Rising was a cool event considering it's first time two MMA promotions ever did a cross promotion. That was kind of fun. Those are just honorable mentions, but the clearly the event of the year was UFC London 1. Just special. One of the all-time great freaking events in MMA history. Yeah, me and Dan were in total agreement here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So from there, we can move on from that to the next, next category on tonight's event. Knockout of the year and upset of the year as well.
Well, you know what? We'll start with knockout of the year. What is your knockout of the year, Dan?
To me, this one was really easy. Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson.
Oh,
that was vicious. That was like those two started off on fire, and Tony looked great. And then that second round, Michael Chandler comes in with the foot, and my God, that's all I gotta say.
It was hang on, let me pull up the picture. If you've seen the picture of that when he lands that foot on on Tony Ferguson, that picture says it all. I thought I didn't save it. Shoot, I wanted to show you guys, but yeah, that image is just like, damn, what he did, poor Tony. That was in my consideration. This was actually a lot harder than I thought because there were a lot of great knockouts. That one, also Chio Vera against Dominic Cruz when he hit him that left high kick that just broke his nose and flatlined him in their fight deserves honorable mention. Also, Molly McCann and freaking that spinning elbow attack in the first London show was just like, I think that to me that's the greatest women's knockout in MMA history. I think it's the best one. I don't think there's a better female knockout than that one. I just don't think so. And that deserves to be up there. Also, but for me, my knockout of the year is Leon Edwards' head kick over Kamaru Usman. Just because it was a lot of different reasons. He was down, basically he was 1 minute away from losing the rematch to Kamaru Usman. Also the way he set it up, throwing jabs to where Usman, moved to his rights, which he set up the left high kick and just dropped him and just knocked him out. I mean, that was just like shocking because, like I said, Usman's a minute away from retaining his belt, and then he comes up with the left high kick and sets it up. And it's something him and his coaches were actually practicing doing. If you go watch some of their footage, like before the fights, like during the camp, they were practicing that left high kick, and seeing Usman get knocked out, guy hadn't lost in like 15 fights at least. No, probably more. 15 fights in the UFC. It was a lot longer win streak he had, and see him get knocked out like that, and by left high kick, especially after being up 3-1, 1 minute away from winning that title, that was like damn. And it's an iconic one. Like that knockout, the Marlon McCann knockout, and the Michael Chandler knockouts are iconic as you can get. They are. But for me, I gotta go Leon Edwards just because the circumstances, what it meant, and also the technique itself was impressive as well. And that's why I got Leon Edwards' head kick knockout for my knockout of the year.
All right. And we could move on from that to upset of the year. What's your upset of the year?
Mine is actually in the PFL. Actually, I'm gonna go Arissa Pacello over Kayla Harrison. The reason why is because you look at the odds for that fight. The odds were super in favor of Kayla Harrison. Like she was like a giant. I forget the exact numbers, but she was like a giant favorite. Kayla Harrison, like super, and she been undefeated before that, and had beaten Larissa twice. So this was the third time they fought. She already had 2 victories over her, and Larissa just beat her basically the entire fight. Like I think she won like 5 rounds to 0 or 4 rounds to 1. Like the rest of not only upset, gave Kayla her first loss and avenged that loss, but she did it in a way where she was dominant. Like she dominated Kayla Harrison. That was shocking to see. Like that blew me away. And because of that, and the fact that she had lost her twice, and the odds and everything, I had to give it to Larissa Pacello over Kayla Harrison, the PFL, back in like November for my upset of the year.
For my upset of the year, I went with I have an honorable mention. My upset of the year was Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for all the reasons that you detailed. That was my upset of the year. But my honorable mention, now that you had taken that reason, is Bilal Muhammad versus Sean Brady. Because that one was a fight that everyone had Sean Brady just kind of dominating that fight. He's an undefeated prospect. No one really had a chance. Excuse me for all that clutter. No one really saw a chance for Bilal Muhammad because Sean Brady just showed that he was really good in the stand-up and excellent in the grappling, more so than Bilal Muhammad. But Bilal Muhammad was able to take it to him and essentially get the KO. So those are my honorable, those are my, I'm kind of cheating there, but those are my two choices. From there, we can move on to submission.
It was Brady Muhammad and Edwards and Usman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From there, we can move on to submission of the year.
Submission of the year. This is a tough one. This was, I don't know if you want to go first or you want me to go first, because this was tough.
Oh, yeah, I'm going first. And I know I got the right. Matt Danger Schnell versus Sumer Daji.
Ooh. That's a good one. That's a good. Tell the story, because that fight was ridiculous.
Remember, ladies and gentlemen, this fight starts off the way it usually does in the stand-up form, and Sumer Daji is just piecing up Matt Schnell. He's slipping through the guard, cracking Matt Schnell in the face, in the jaw, going to the body, mixing it up. He's looking like he's going to win because Matt Schnell is going down a lot in the first round. He essentially loses the first round 10-8. And then he goes into the second round, and it's more of the same stuff of, him trying to find a way. But then he starts finding Sumer Daji. Pop, 1-2. And those two start trading. And they go trading, and then Matt Schnell starts getting the better of him. Then he starts headhunting, swinging wildly. He's living in that name of his, danger. Living in the danger zone, ladies and gentlemen. Then they go to the ground while Matt Schnell's trying to finish it with the ground and pound. And then he switches it up to, I believe it was a triangle choke.
I think it was.
And that choked him out till he was knocked out. Both of them bloodied up on the floor. Most of the blood was Matt Schnell's blood. Oh my gosh. That's my submission of the year.
That's a great choice. That's an excellent choice. That's a great one. Considering everything that led up to it, if there was a comeback of the year, that's my comeback of the year, was that fight, just because of what Matt Schnell went through, being dropped 4 times and coming back. That's an honorable mention of mine. That Matt Schnell and freaking Sumer Daji fight. Also, that was crazy. If you haven't watched that fight, go watch it, because that was just, I just gotta say, that was batshit insane. It was. It was crazy. But that's my honorable mention. One of my other honorable mentions is Minute Lemos against Jessica Andrade against Minute Lemos. If you remember, Jessica Andrade had, I think, the first ever extending arm triangle submission in UFC history. It was the first women's one or first one in general. that
And it was off the cage too. Yeah.
Yeah, it was, and that was impressive because that was the first time we ever seen that. And Jessica Andrade continues to be one of my favorite female fighters and fighters, period, because she always brings it every freaking time. It's always exciting with Andrade. People need to talk about, give her some more respect for being one of the more exciting fighters in MMA, because she is definitely excited to watch. But that's my honorable mention. And those two, and I'm trying to see, is there another? I thought I had no. That's my two honorable mentions. My submission of the year is Yuri Prohaska and Glover Teixeira in round for the lightweight title back in UFC 275. Glover Teixeira had never been submitted in his MMA career. He had never been submitted ever. That was the first time anyone beat Glover Teixeira by submission. And the fact that it was in a championship fight, 30 seconds to go, Glover was basically going to lose that fight. It was, crazy fight back and forth. Remember, Glover Teixeira almost finished Yuri in that fifth round. He hit him with those two shots that hurt him badly, and then Glover, for some odd reason, went for a takedown. But then Glover was able to get top position for a little bit, do some work, and then Yuri out of nowhere. You gotta get credit to his cardio because he was able to get up, get reverse position, get on top of Glover, do a little bit of ground and pound, then get that rear naked choke with 30 seconds to go, and Glover had no choice but to tap. And it was I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. I was like, what? Because the fact that Glover had never been submitted, Glover was the better grappler. It was a fifth round. Yuri been hurt a lot, so had Glover, but they both were beat up. The fact that Yuri was able to get up and put on that rear choke and submit the guy, the better BJJ, and in just the craziest fashion. I mean, that was my goodness. I mean, that to me is submission of the year. Yuri Prohaska, rear naked choking Glover Teixeira with 30 seconds to go in the fifth round for the lightweight title. I mean, once again, one of the greatest fights ever. I mean, that's just. I mean, I can't speak enough of how awesome it is. It just blows your freaking mind in terms of the greatness of that fight, the back and forth, and just submit the BJJ expert, the guy, the great better grappler, grappling. It's just like, what? It's unbelievable. I don't know. I mean, it's just like, man, for me, that's my submission of the year. Although that match somewhere Georgie one is a pretty damn good one. That one's like, ooh, that could be that's a good choice though. Very excellent choice. I forgot about that. Thank you. I kind of forgot about that. This Chanel and Demorigi fight.
All right. With that being said, we can move on to our final column of the night. It is the breakout fighter of the year.
Breakout fighter of the year.
I'll let you kick this one off, man. Who's your breakout fighter of the year?
This is a tough one because. Sorry, it's a tough one for me because this is a very. There's a lot of fighters who I think deserve this honorable mention, deserve this award. For me this one I'm actually. I mean, you could go Alex, but I had it, but now I'm thinking it through because there's several. I want to give an honorable mention to Erin Blanchfield because before this she wasn't ranked, and then she goes out there in the year destroying Molly McCann, taking all of her hype away. Now is in the top. Now she's in the top ranked and the thing the top 10 now of that women's flyweight division. So I want to mention Erin Blanchfield deserves some honorable mentions. Also, I'm gonna go with also honorable mention Jack Della Maddalena. This is a guy who, let's be honest, I don't think any of us were aware of him prior to this year, and then he goes out there and has, I believe it was 2 fights. I think it was 2 fights in 2022. He won back-to-back finishes too, and comes out there, and just now we're aware of him. He's one of the exciting prospects of the welterweight division. Shakak Ramanov, I think should also be in that list because this is a guy I wasn't aware of prior to 2022, and those two guys also. But for me, my breakout fighter of the year is definitely it's Alex Pereira. The reason why is because he had fought in the UFC. People kind of knew he was, but people knew he was the guy who beat Israel in kickboxing. He had 1 fight in the UFC. This is a guy that went from, like I said, unranked to being UFC champion in a year. I mean, it's hard for me to it's hard for me to play anyone else besides him for breakout fighter of the year. To go from unranked to being a UFC champion, winning 3 fights in the calendar year, it's hard for me not to go with Alex Pereira. He's not only my male fighter of the year, but my breakout fighter of the year. this is a guy that's the champion of the UFC and did something impressive, being a world champion, glory kickboxing, and in MMA and UFC. So Alex Pereira is my breakout fight of the year.
This one was really difficult. I didn't choose a breakout fighter of the year this year. Based on my interpretation of it, I thought it was someone that, we really didn't know of at all, and that is just breaking onto the scene, doesn't have that much popularity, probably came from the regionals, something like that. And there wasn't a new name that popped into my head immediately that, made me go, oh, this guy, yeah. And I went through looking through some of the cards, and there wasn't really anyone that kind of broke the plane for me. So I didn't choose one this year.
Yeah, I know some people are probably looking at me thinking, why Alex Pereira? But it's like, this is a guy that went from unranked to being UFC champion. It's hard for me to not give him breakthrough. He broke through in a way that no one expected. I don't think anyone thought he was going to be UFC champion realistically by the end of the year. We knew they would try fast track him, but not like this. And that's why, for me, he's my breakout fight of the year. Like I said, you could go with Aaron Blanchfield. You could go with Jack Della Madalena. You could go with those guys. You could also go with Shakak Romanov. I think that. But for me, it's Alex Pereira. Just for me, I mean. But yeah, like, that's why I have him as my breakout fight of the year. Just because this guy went from having only one fight in the UFC going into this year to being world champ. But yeah, I mean, that's my breakout fight of the year. And also I did want to ask you this, Chef Dan, do you have any bold predictions for 2023?
Bold predictions. I mean, no. I think the world of MMA is so random that you can just, leave it be. I really don't have a bold prediction.
I do got one, actually.
Go ahead.
I think that sorry. I think Leon, no. Actually, I think Francis Ngannou will not be the heavyweight champ by the end of the year. I think Francis Ngannou will lose the heavyweight, but I think someone else will be champion by the end of the year. And I'm not going to say John Jones because I could see John Jones losing, but I don't think Francis Ngannou will be heavyweight champ by this time next year. I think he's going to lose the belt. That's one of my bold predictions. Another one is Amanda Nunes or Valentina Shevchenko will lose their championship belts this year.
All right. So those are your bold predictions of this year. That some more longtime champions will be dethroned. I can't wait for it. It's an exciting year in UFC and in MMA, period.
Yes, it is. It's definitely exciting. And I'm excited. I mean, 2022 was a great year for MMA and the UFC. I mean, it really was for fights and also fights and events itself. I mean, it's crazy to think Conor McGregor didn't fight in 2022, nor John Jones, and they're both probably going to fight this upcoming year. Which, I mean, it's better when you have those two fighting. It just feels different. It feels more special, the sport, having those two fights. So it's interesting to see what they do, because I do think it's going to be Jones and Ngannou for the heavyweight belts. And McGregor, I mean, I don't know what they're going to do with him. They're either go him and Chandler or him and freaking Masvidal potentially. I don't know, but with those two guys coming back, this should be an even better year for the MMA. Also, I was going to say something. What was I going to say? Also, I am interested in see how one championship does with his first event in the United States. Considering they are going to the United States in May this year, and that's with DJ's fighting Adrian Moraes the third time. So I'm interested in seeing how one does in terms of doing an event in the United States, if they can get more popularity in America. And also how this Bellator and CBS show does next month First time on CBS on big network television. This is a big deal for Bellator. So yeah, it's exciting times for MMA. You got new opportunities for these MMA promotions. The UFC is in its 30th anniversary year this year, so the UFC is going to do something big. I'm excited to see what they do in November when November comes around, because that's when the UFC first happened, November 1993. So it's a big year for the sport. I can't wait to see how this is going to go. I mean, it should be an exciting year, hopefully. And with that, anything else you want to say, Chef Dan?
Just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting the program, and can't wait for an exciting 2023. Let's kick this thing off right. Let's go right into it, man.
Exactly. Let's go right into it. And next week, the UFC returns next Saturday with Imanov and Gastelum. The UFC's back after taking a break. They're back next week for an event next week. Can't wait to see it. I'm excited for that, and can't wait. And thank you guys for watching and listening to us. Where you're watching us on video platforms, listening to audio podcasting platforms. Appreciate the love, support you guys give the channel, and audio podcasting platforms. And thank you so much to everyone in the comment section, from Dork Knight from the UK. Wow, it's pretty late in the UK. Shout out to you. I mean, it's probably midnight over there. We are internet. This channel is international. Sometimes you forget people do watch this channel from all around the world. It's pretty cool to think about. And CAC, and also CAC on YouTube as well. Probably not. That probably won't happen. Actually, that probably will not. That's never happening. That would never.
That's never happening. Yeah.
As long as Dana White's the promoter, that ain't never happening. Any cross promotions would never happen with the UFC at all. That's why I don't get with Chatri and One Championship saying the only co-promote with the UFC. You know damn well they won't do it. That's another video in and of itself, that whole thing. But yeah, we do use Tapology from time. We do use it on Dork Knight. Definitely. Tapology is a great website to use. You want to look at fighters' records in terms of who they fought, what matchups they had. Definitely recommend Tapology. But yeah, well, that's gonna be it from us, from me and Chef Dan. Thank you guys for watching, listening to us, and have a great day, great night, your time watching. And if you have any bold predictions, write down in the comment section. Let me know your bold predictions, what we're gonna get for 2023. Love to see your guys' predictions, see if it comes true or not. And anything else you want to say, Chef Dan, before we wrap it up?
Yeah, just thank you guys so much for supporting once again, and have a good night.
Good night and peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are